Simon, thank you so much for joining me. It's been another week of travel woes for Londoners. It's been near impossible to get around in some cases. What's your experience been of the impact?
Well, it's so sad, particularly for people who cannot work from home. They're the ones who are having to struggle to get on overcrowded buses, maybe getting one of the very few trains that were running. I managed to travel from High Street Kensington to Wimbledon quite successfully on Tuesday. But apart from the extra congestion, the extra risks because more people on the roads and so on, what I think is my greatest concern is that I can't actually see much sense that we're going to get a quick end to this, because well, ultimately, Transport for London has seen its revenue absolutely collapse. It depends on handouts from central government. They, in turn, demand changes, savings and so on. And therefore, if the union is saying we will not countenance any changes to our terms, conditions, pensions, ways of working and so on, then the future looks quite bleak, I fear.
What are they looking for, and have they got anywhere with the action they've taken this week?
Well, I think they have absolutely demonstrated how completely they can close down one of the world's great cities. I'm not sure how much public sympathy that they have attracted, although certainly people like Jeremy Corbyn and the former Shadow Chancellor John McDonnell have been showing their support for the strikers. I think they have effectively just said we're simply not interested in talking about this, about pensions where perhaps the contribution that the employer pays falls. We're not interested in talking about job cuts, even though there won't be any mandatory redundancies. This will basically be not filling posts, and we're not at all interested in working more flexibly. Now, of course, a lot of people will say, well, these guys and women worked through COVID, absolute respect to them, they deserve not to change. But I think many of us are finding that our ways of working, that the terms of working have been affected. And so I think there's perhaps not much sympathy, particularly among hard-pressed commuters, for a group of workers who are effectively really quite well paid in many cases, and don't seem to be offering much scope for flexibility at a time when their wages are being paid entirely by the public purse, more or less.
Lots of questions this week about where Sadiq Khans is on the matter.
Well, the mayor is in a tricky position, not least because the RMT union quite shrewdly on Tuesday said, oh, we've been having a look at what Sadiq Khans been saying, and he's made it perfectly clear that we can't possibly tamper with pensions at all. And so I'm not surprised he's kind of kept out of it. But ultimately, he is the guy in the middle trying to get funding to keep Transport for London going, and at the same time trying to extract concessions from a group of workers who seem to be in no mood to compromise pretty much on anything. So I fear for London that there will be further strife ahead. I hope I am completely wrong.
Yeah, something I think we'll be continuing to speak about for some time. Simon, something else you've been tweeting about this morning, people booking Airbnbs in Ukraine. What do you know about this?
Yeah, a really interesting thing. It sort of started last night. People on social media saying, I've got a great idea. I am going to book an Airbnb in either Kyiv, the capital, or maybe Lviv or Odessa, a couple of the great cities in Ukraine, and not stay there. It's just a way of effectively transferring money there. Now, first of all, there's several elements to this. First of all, Airbnb's commission, and there have been calls for that to be dropped for Ukraine. I'm not sure if that's happening. Certainly Airbnb is doing what it can to accommodate refugees. But a couple of concerns. First of all, Airbnb has caught the attention of scammers. And so therefore I would be very worried that maybe even Russian scammers would be setting up or hacking accounts for properties in Kyiv, in Odessa or whatever, and actually helping themselves to the money. But also, I mean, while I am very, very keen to give, and I know many of your viewers are, to the people of Ukraine, actually, I think there are more targeted charities, including one which the Independent newspaper has set up, which are perhaps better than just kind of randomly finding a stranger who happens to own presumably quite an attractive property, I very much hope, on Airbnb, and giving them a bit of extra cash. I don't begrudge them that at all. You know, they need all the help we can get, but I just wonder, if you are going to be giving, then maybe through an established charity would be a better way.
Yes, other ways to do so. I can't have you here without talking about holidays, travel. I don't want to jinx it, but it does feel like we're finally getting back to some sort of normality when it comes to travel abroad now. How is the travel industry doing?
Well, until the appalling assault that Vladimir Putin instigated on Ukraine, things were looking very optimistic. I was lucky enough to be in Australia last week, which has just opened up. This week we've had Western Australia, the last state, opening up. We've had across the EU, the testing rules, certainly for vaccinated travellers, have been reduced. And even today I'm writing about Bali and how that is going in about 10 days' time to be opening to the world. So things going in the right direction. However, I am getting an awful lot of concern from viewers, from readers, saying, I'm going to Budapest this weekend, should I go? You know, I'm worried about the conflict in Ukraine. My advice most definitely is, yes, you should. But clearly this horrible conflict is casting a shadow once again across Europe and across the travel industry.